Welcome back. Today, we begin a long journey. A journey through time. A journey through Europe. Not as a list of dates, not as dry history, but as a story. A human story. Because history is not made of years. History is made of people. People who hoped. People who feared. People who tried to survive. And people who tried to change their world. As you listen today, you are not just learning history. You are training your English. You are listening. You are understanding ideas. You are following meaning. This is how real language is learned. Slowly, naturally. So take a breath, get comfortable, and let the story begin. Long before Europe had borders, before countries had names, there were only lands, rivers, and small groups of people. These early people lived close to nature. They hunted animals. They gathered plants. They moved when food was gone. Life was hard. Life was simple. Survival was everything. Over time, people began to settle. They stayed in one place. They built small villages. They learned to grow crops. They learned to keep animals. This was a big change, because staying in one place allowed communities to grow. With communities came rules. With rules came leaders. And with leaders came power. Some areas of Europe grew faster than others. Land near rivers was rich. Trade slowly began. People exchanged goods. Ideas also began to travel, and with ideas, civilization slowly formed. One of the earliest great influences on Europe came from ancient Greece. Greece was not one country. It was many small city-states. Each city had its own government, its own culture, its own pride. Cities like Athens and Sparta became powerful in different ways. Athens valued thinking. Sparta valued strength. Athens believed in discussion. Sparta believed in discipline. These differences shaped Greek life. In Athens, people talked about ideas. They asked questions. They debated right and wrong. They discussed how society should work. This was rare in the ancient world. Most places were ruled by kings. Athens experimented with democracy, not perfect democracy, but a new idea, the idea that people could have a voice. Greek thinkers changed how humans think. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle asked deep questions. What is truth? What is justice? What makes a good life? These questions still matter today. Greek art also mattered. Statues showed the human body with balance. Buildings followed harmony. Beauty was connected to reason, order, proportion. Greece taught Europe how to think, but Greece was not alone. Another power was rising. Rome. At first, Rome was just a small city, but Rome grew, and grew, and grew. Rome was different from Greece. Rome focused on law, on structure, on control. Romans built roads, strong roads, straight roads, roads that connected cities, roads that moved armies, roads that moved trade. Rome understood organization. They created systems, laws that applied to everyone. This idea was powerful because law brought stability. Rome also had an army, a disciplined army, trained soldiers, clear commands. Rome expanded across Europe, across North Africa, across the Middle East. For centuries, Rome ruled much of the known world. People inside the Roman Empire shared language, law, and trade. Latin became common. Cities grew. Life became more connected. But Rome was not perfect. Power brought corruption. Leaders fought for control. Wealth became uneven. The empire became too large, hard to manage. Slowly, Rome began to weaken. Pressure came from outside. Tribes from the north moved south. They searched for land. They searched for safety. Rome could not hold everything together. Eventually, the Western Roman Empire fell. This moment changed Europe. Cities declined, trade slowed, order weakened. This period is often called the Dark Ages. But life did not stop. People adapted, local leaders took control, small kingdoms formed, Europe became more divided. During this time, the church became powerful. Christianity spread across Europe. The church offered structure, belief, community. Monasteries preserved knowledge. Books were copied by hand. Learning survived through faith. Kings worked with the church. Power was shared, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not. This was the medieval world, a world of castles, knights, farms, feudal systems. Most people were peasants. They worked the land. They lived simple lives. They depended on local lords. Life was uncertain. Disease was common. War was frequent. But culture continued to grow. Towns slowly returned. Trade slowly increased. Markets appeared. Merchants gained influence. Europe was changing again. Then came a powerful shift. The Renaissance, a rebirth, a return to learning. Artists studied nature. Scientists questioned old ideas. Thinkers looked back to Greece and Rome. But they also looked forward. Art became realistic. Science became experimental. Humans were no longer just servants of fate. They were thinkers, creators, explorers. This new thinking spread. Printing helped. Books became cheaper. Ideas moved faster. People read. People questioned. Europe entered a new age. Exploration followed. Ships crossed oceans. Europeans reached new lands. Trade expanded. Wealth flowed in. But this also brought conflict. Colonization caused suffering. Native peoples were harmed. History is complex. Progress for some meant pain for others. As Europe grew richer, it also grew more powerful. Nations formed stronger identities. Borders became clearer. Competition increased. Wars followed. Religion caused conflict. Politics caused conflict. Power always brings tension. This tension shaped the modern world, and it continues to shape us today. As you listen to this story, notice something important. Europe did not change overnight. Change was slow, built step by step, idea by idea, decision by decision. This is how history works, and this is how language works too. You do not become fluent in one day. You build understanding slowly, just like Europe built its identity slowly. Each sentence you understand is like a brick. Each idea you follow is like a road. You are building something. Europe did not stay quiet for long. Slowly, life began to move again. Small towns became busy. Trade routes opened. Merchants traveled from place to place. They carried salt. They carried cloth. They carried stories. With trade came money. With money came power. And with power came ambition. Kings wanted more land, more control, more influence. Europe entered an age of competition. Kingdoms rose and fell. Borders changed often. War became common. Castles were built. Walls were raised. Protection became important. The feudal system shaped daily life. At the top were kings. Below them were nobles. Below them were knights. And at the bottom were peasants. Most people lived simple lives. They worked the land. They paid taxes. They followed orders. Life was not easy, but it was familiar. The church remained strong. Religion guided people's lives. It answered questions. It gave hope. It explained suffering. Faith was central, but not everyone agreed with the church. Over time, questions returned. Why does power belong to a few? Why should knowledge be controlled? Why can't people read for themselves? These questions became louder. Then came a turning point, the Renaissance. Europe began to wake up. Artists looked at nature. They studied the human body. Painters created depth and emotion. Writers focused on human experience. Thinkers believed humans could improve. Science changed. Observation replaced blind belief. Experiment replaced tradition. Printing changed everything. Books became affordable. Ideas spread fast. People learned to read. Knowledge moved beyond churches. This created tension. Old power felt threatened. New ideas challenged tradition. Europe entered an age of change. Then came exploration. European ships crossed oceans. They searched for spices, for gold, for land. New continents were discovered. Trade expanded across the world. Europe grew rich, but this wealth had a cost. Colonization caused pain. Native cultures were destroyed. Slavery increased. History is not simple. Progress and suffering existed together. As wealth grew, cities expanded, banks formed, industries developed. The Industrial Revolution changed daily life. Machines replaced hands, factories replaced farms. People moved to cities. Life became faster, harder, noisier, but opportunities grew. Education expanded, middle classes formed. Ideas of equality spread, democracy returned, not perfectly, but strongly. Revolutions followed. France, England, other nations. People demanded rights, freedom, voice. Europe reshaped itself again, but peace did not last. National pride grew. Competition returned. Alliances formed. Tension increased. Then came war. Not small wars, world wars. Europe suffered deeply. Cities were destroyed. Millions died. The continent was shaken. After great pain, Europe learned. Slowly, countries chose cooperation. The European Union was formed. Borders softened. Trade connected nations. Peace became a goal. Europe today is complex. Old history, modern values, different languages, shared lessons. Europe is not perfect, but it carries memory. Memory of mistakes, memory of growth, and memory of change. Just like learning English, you struggle, you repeat, you improve, you move forward, step by step. After the Great Wars, Europe stood damaged. Cities were broken, factories were destroyed, millions of people were displaced, families were divided. Trust between nations was weak. The first priority was survival. Food had to be produced, homes had to be rebuilt, jobs had to be created. Governments focused on recovery. Slowly, stability returned. New systems were introduced. Education became more important. Healthcare expanded. Social support increased. People wanted security after long suffering. At the same time, political ideas changed. Some countries moved toward democracy. Others struggled with control and ideology. Europe became divided again, this time not by kings, but by systems. East and West followed different paths. One side focused on free markets, the other focused on state control. This division shaped daily life. Movement was restricted, information was controlled, fear existed on both sides. For decades, tension remained. Walls were built, borders were guarded, communication was limited. But change came again. Peaceful movements grew. People demanded openness. They wanted freedom to travel, freedom to speak, freedom to choose. Gradually, barriers fell. Borders reopened. Former rivals began to cooperate. Economic partnerships replaced conflict. Trade increased across nations. Shared rules were discussed. Common goals were defined. Europe began to integrate, not as one country, but as connected nations. This cooperation brought benefits. Travel became easier. Work opportunities expanded. Cultural exchange increased. Students studied abroad. Businesses worked across borders. Differences remained. Languages stayed unique. Traditions stayed local, but connection increased. Europe also faced new challenges. Immigration increased, economic inequality appeared, technology changed work, global competition grew. Governments had to adapt, societies had to respond. Debates continued about identity, about responsibility, about the future. History did not stop. It continued to shape decisions. Old lessons influenced new choices. Europe moved forward carefully, balancing past experiences with modern demands. As cooperation increased, Europe entered a new phase. Technology began to change daily life. Computers became common. The internet connected people quickly. Information moved faster than ever before. Workplaces changed. Offices became digital. Communication became instant. Education adapted to new tools. Online learning expanded. Young generations grew up differently. They had access to global knowledge. Borders mattered less in communication. At the same time, economic challenges appeared. Some regions grew faster than others. Unemployment affected certain countries. Financial crises tested cooperation. Governments had to make difficult decisions. Shared currency created advantages, but it also created pressure. Not all economies moved at the same speed. Debates about responsibility increased. Some countries demanded more control, others demanded more support. Compromise became necessary. Migration became a major issue. People moved across Europe for work. Others arrived from outside Europe. Different cultures met. Integration became a challenge. Societies discussed identity. Tradition and change sometimes clashed. Security concerns increased. Terrorism affected public trust. Governments strengthened laws. Citizens questioned balance between freedom and safety. Politics became more complex. Populism gained attention. Public opinion shifted. Media influenced perspectives. Social networks amplified voices. Disagreement became visible. Despite challenges, cooperation continued. Trade remained strong. Scientific research expanded. Environmental concerns gained importance. Climate change required shared action. Europe discussed sustainability. Energy policies changed. Green technologies developed. Urban planning evolved. Public awareness increased. Young people became more involved. Protests influenced decisions. Civic engagement grew. Europe continued adapting. Institutions adjusted slowly. Laws were revised. Agreements were negotiated. Progress was uneven. Some areas advanced quickly, others faced resistance. But systems remained connected. Europe functioned through dialogue, through debate, through adjustment. Debates continued about identity, about responsibility, about the future. History did not stop. It continued to shape decisions. Old lessons influenced new choices. Europe moved forward carefully, balancing past experiences with modern demands. In recent years, Europe has continued to face complex realities. Political unity has been tested. Some countries question shared decisions. National interests became louder. Discussions about independence appeared. Public votes influenced direction. Some nations chose closer cooperation. Others chose distance. Economic balance remained difficult. Global markets affected Europe's stability. Trade relationships shifted. Technology created new industries. Automation changed employment. New skills became necessary. Education systems adapted again. Digital literacy became essential. Healthcare systems faced pressure. Aging populations required support. Public services adjusted slowly. Pandemics challenged coordination. Borders closed temporarily. Supply chains were disrupted. Governments responded differently. Cooperation was tested under stress. At the same time, scientific collaboration increased. Medical research shared data. Vaccines were developed quickly. Lessons were learned through crisis. Environmental challenges continued. Extreme weather increased. Floods, heat waves, and droughts affected regions. Policy discussions focused on prevention. Renewable energy investment grew. Infrastructure planning evolved. Transportation systems changed. Cities adjusted to sustainability goals. Cultural diversity remained central. Migration patterns shifted again. Integration policies were debated. Social cohesion required attention. Media played a strong role. Information spread rapidly. Misinformation also increased. Critical thinking became important. Education addressed media awareness. Democratic institutions faced pressure. Public trust fluctuated. Civic participation changed form. Digital platforms influenced engagement. Europe continued operating through institutions, through negotiation, through regulation, through revision. History accumulated layer by layer. Past decisions influenced present structures. Present actions shaped future options. Agreements were negotiated. Progress was uneven. Some areas advanced quickly, others faced resistance, but systems remained connected. Europe functioned through dialogue, through debate, through adjustment. Debates continued about identity, about responsibility, about the future. History did not stop. It continued to shape decisions. Old lessons influenced new choices. Europe moved forward carefully, balancing past experiences with modern demands.